What it do, homies? It's your boy Dave, and I'm back today. We out here with another Watsky reaction. This time we're checking out his Tiny Glowing Screens Part 2. Now, I do have a reaction to the first one, and seeing how short this one is, I probably should have just did them both back to back. You know what I mean? Anyways, super excited. The first one really definitely kind of got me thinking, as far as like tiny glowing screens and how our world's pretty much revolved around us, pretty much staring into our phone screens and whatnot. So we'll see what part 2 is about. Let's go ahead and shut up and turn it up.
There's 7,046,000,000 people on the planet, and most of us have the audacity to think we matter. Hey, you hear the one about the comedian who croaked? Someone stabbed him in the heart. Just a little poke. But he keeled.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. What? Okay. Some of us have the audacity to think everybody matters. That's probably one of them things where, I would disagree in a sense to where it's about how much like you matter. Your life matters. I guess it all depends on what you mean when it comes to matter. Not every one of us can do great things. If you look at it that way, not every one of us here on the planet can do absolute great things. Some of us are destined to just fit in normalcy, right? And just kind of be just be there, and just exist and everything. Of course, you could do special things within your life, but it might just not be as grand. That's how I'm gonna choose to approach what he just said about us having the audacity to think that each one of like all of us matter, So I think everybody matters as a you're alive type sense, right? Because life is precious. But no, everybody's not going to do a lot of great things. So
about the comedian who croaked? Someone stabbed him in the heart. Just a little poke.
And that right there where he says somebody stabbed him in the heart, just a little poke, got me thinking when he said a comedian that croaked, right? So I'm thinking of a comedian that's, this is their first time or they've been doing it, or it could even be their first time, get on a stage and they start performing and doing whatever they need out of, the type of stuff that they usually do, comedian telling jokes and everything. And then somebody in the audience just like goes boo and everything, right? Just that could be right there, the tiny little poke for the comedian to croak and just decide to give it up because they couldn't handle that harsh type of criticism. You know what I mean? Not necessarily criticism, somebody in the crowd being an a-hole, but interesting.
But he keeled over because he went into battle wearing chainmail made of jokes. Hey, you hear the one about the screenwriter who passed away? He was giving elevator pitches and the elevator got stuck halfway. He ended up eating smush sandwiches they pushed through, cracking the door and repeating the same crappy screenplay idea about talking dogs till his last day. Hey, you hear the one about the fisherman who passed? He didn't jump off that ledge, he just stepped out into the air and pulled the ground up towards him really fast, like he was.
My goodness, this man. Okay, hold on. It seems like it's a whole lot of digest here. He's coming. He's speaking very rapidly.
Back in the door, he was giving elevator pitches and the elevator got stuck halfway. He ended up eating smush sandwiches they pushed through, cracking the door and repeating the same crappy screenplay idea about talking dogs till his last day.
So basically trying to look at the meaning behind what he says. I refuse to kind of take what he's saying by face value. So elevator, you're pitching the same idea, pretty much. What did they say that, what was that game Far Cry where it said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. So that's pretty much what it was. And he kept doing it and pushing the screenplay to eventually he went broke, went homeless. The sandwiches through that, when he was that sandwich, what he was talking about.
Smush sandwiches they pushed through, cracking the door and repeating the same crappy screenplay idea about talking dogs till his last day. Hey, you hear the one about the fisherman who passed? He didn't jump off that ledge, he just stepped out into the air and pulled the ground up towards him really fast, like he was pitching a line and went fishing for concrete. The earth is a drum and he's hitting it on beat. The reason there's smog in Los Angeles is because if we could see the stars, if we could see the context of the universe in which we exist, and we could see how small each one of us is against the vastness of what we don't know, no one would ever audition for a McDonald's commercial again.
Okay, so almost kind of like getting a better sense of self-worth, right? Although that also kind of paints a picture of if you're auditioning for a McDonald's commercial and everything, I remember reading his Facebook post about, they were talking about, minimum wage and it being raised $15. And then a lot of people saying, what about those people who absolutely need a job, who aren't working, who aren't making anything, right? What about those type of caveats? Auditioning for a McDonald's might be that way, might be an additional way for them to make money because they can't get anything else. But in comparison to what he's saying that, if they say you remove all the smog and you can see all the stars, you realize how small you are. which also could be saying, that all of these small things in the grand the grand scheme, I cannot talk today, of things, you could be thinking much bigger.
Us is against the vastness of what we don't know. No one would ever audition for a McDonald's commercial again, and then where would we be? No frozen dinners and no TV, and is that a world we want to text in? Either someone just microwaved popcorn, or I hear the sound of 1,000 people pulling the heads out of their asses in rapid succession. The people are hunched over in Boston. They're starting app stores and screen printing companies in San Francisco. They're grinning in Los Angeles like they got fish hooks in the corners of their mouth. But don't paint me like the good guy, because every time I write, I get to choose the angle that you view me and select the nicest light. You wouldn't respect me if you heard the typewriter chatter tapping through my mind at night. The same stupid tape loop of old sitcom dialogue and tattered memories of a girl I got to grind on in high school, filed carefully on rice paper. My heart is a colored pencil, but my brain is an eraser. I don't want a real girl, I want a tracer from a catalog. Truth be told,
Ooh, I don't want a real girl, I want a tracer from a catalog. Back when I was in college, I had this argument with this, I think she was an older lady. I'm not really too sure. And I say older, I think she was like in her 50s, and she was at a college party. Sometimes that happens, I suppose. And we were talking about like magazine models, and she believed that, my degree was digital art. So I know the manipulation. Somebody who knows how to do that type of stuff has what you call a trained eye, so we can see where that manipulation is. And I was telling her, I was like, nobody looks this good. Nobody does. It's a bunch of makeup. It's a bunch of Photoshop. Stuff is editing. She believed to her core that that's what she was striving to look like. And I was just like, wow. So what he just said, where he says nobody wants a real girl, they just want like a tracer or something like that, right? Out there looking for that type of perfection, when in reality, it doesn't really exist. I always tell people who are looking for their special someone that whenever you meet them, they're going to be everything you need and not necessarily everything you wanted in a person.
tape loop of old sitcom dialogue and tattered memories of a girl I got to grind on in high school, filed carefully on rice paper. My heart is a colored pencil, but my brain is an eraser. I don't want a real girl, I want a tracer from a catalog. Truth be told, I'm unlikely to hold you down, cause my soul is a crowded subway train and people keep deciding to get on the next one that rolls through town. I'm joining a false movement in San Francisco. I'm frowning and hunched over in Boston. I'm smiling in Los Angeles like I got fish hooks in the corners of my mouth, and I'm celebrating on weekends because there's 7,047 million people on the planet, and I have the audacity to think I matter. I know it's a lie, but I prefer it to the alternative because I got a tourniquet tied at my elbow. I got a blunt wrap filled with compliments and I'm burning it.
Okay, so now that we now that we got a little bit more context, he says, you know that it's a lie, it doesn't matter, but this is what the alternative is. Okay.
7,047 million people on the planet, and I have the audacity to think I matter. I know it's a lie, but I prefer it to the alternative because I got a tourniquet tied at my elbow. I got a blunt wrap filled with compliments and I'm burning it. You say go to sleep, but I've been bouncing out my bedroom wall since I was hecka small, where every agent wants it tucked inside ourselves like Russian nesting dolls. My mother is an 8-year-old girl, my grandson is a 74-year-old retiree whose kidneys just failed, and that's the glue between me and you. That's the screws and nails. We live in a house made of each other, and if that sounds strange, that's because it is. Someone please freeze time so I can run around turning everyone's pockets inside out. And remember, you didn't see shit.
Oh my goodness. Nah, this is definitely something that came from the heart, right? You can see him kind of getting choked up in his emotion and everything at the end. I like artists like Watsky, right? Instead of kind of getting on a mic and just kind of talking about just whatever random stuff in order to sell and everything, he gets on and not necessarily talking about like not like a controversial rap or anything, but he just talks about issues, stuff that he's going through. And then, like he said, everybody's expecting him, to do a certain thing. He's walking around with a smile like fish hooks, right? So that means it's a forced smile. What's interesting about the fish hook is that it pierces, right? So it's a painful smile, right? His analogy in using fish hooks. Here's what I'm going to do, because he said a whole lot right there, and I'm pretty sure I didn't grab the entire complexity of it. I do want to look at the lyrics here real quick, because he said a whole bunch of stuff here. And oh my goodness, man. Let me see. A minute, someone stabbed in the heart, just a little poke. I think it was kind of like the second half where I was just too busy listening. Every time I write, you get to choose. This is interesting, right? Like the good guy, because every time I write, I get to choose the angle that you view me and select the nicest light, right? So So generally, he's just saying that, you can't take everything face value, right? Because you're only going to see the good part. My dad taught me when I was growing up is that when you meet somebody for the first time, you're meeting their representative, right? This is why probably divorce rates, I don't know what the percentage is right now. I remember reading somewhere that's like 50%. This is why the divorce rate is so high, because it gets to the point to where you start getting, the more and more you get to know them, the more you find out some things you didn't actually like. So, not necessarily, painting, choose, they get to choose the angle you view them in the nicest light until that light wears off. So you wouldn't respect me as a typewriter chapters. Basically, he's saying a whole lot of stuff in there in terms of mine. You would think that if you're writing a bunch of nice stuff, you wouldn't be over there furiously tapping, tattered memories. Let's see. I don't want a real girl. I want to trace her from a catalog. We already talked about that. So it's a crowded subway train, and people keep deciding to get on the next one that rolls through town. So I'm guessing, for that one, people keep deciding to get on the next one that rolls through town. People just trying to get, not necessarily kind of fit into his life, already super complicated life. Some of the audacity, I don't matter. So like, this one is right here that I got kind of mixed up on, because I got a tourniquet tied to my elbow. He's bleeding, right? I got a blunt wrap filled with compliments, and I'm burning it. So, we see other rappers and singers talk about this a lot. Where they say, he said the blunt wrap filled with compliments and I'm burning it. Sometimes if you're in this great place, and since we're only seeing like the nice view of it, because that's the angle that he's painted for us, we give him compliments, and the inside, that stuff is still probably hurting, still dealing with devils and everything. So he's burning it. So he's receiving the compliments, and he's like, all right, cool, whatever, right? Because he hasn't dealt with the inner demons. He just showed you, the good side, right? You say go to sleep. So these are basically people who are saying, hey, you need to do this, but obviously that's not working. Age was okay. We're every age at once and tucked inside ourselves like Russian nesting dolls. Are those the ones that look like eggs? Russian nest. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there we go. It's Russian nesting dog. So you're pretty much creating a shell of yourself each time. And that's very interesting, right? Because when you have like all these issues and stuff, instead of dealing with them, right, you just pretty much cover it up with something, right? And that's generally how addictions start, because you're either trying to run away from something or trying to deal with an issue. But instead, what you're doing is just creating a layer and a layer and a layer before the issue gets too big. And now you got all these layers to peel back, which makes healing a lot more difficult. So, okay. My mother's an 8-year-old girl. My grand's 74-year-old whose kidneys just failed. 8-year-old girl. This might be a mental type of thing right here. My mother's 8-year-old girl, like mentality, and then grandson 70-year-old retiree, his kidneys just failed. Grandson having issues that you would normally see with an adult, right? Kidneys failing, right? That's not common. Actually, I don't think it's common for kids that are younger. I don't know the statistics behind that. I know it happens like at birth or whatnot. And he said that's the glue between me and you, these type of issues, right? The glue. So, he's a celebrity. Some people look for those type of commonalities when it comes to like big people, celebrities, big faces. And it will probably be issues like this that's going to be that glue. The screw and nails live in a house made of each other. And that sounds so strange. That's because it is. Somebody please freeze time so I can run around turning everybody's pockets inside out. And remember, you didn't see nothing going around pretty much, pockets inside out, stealing everything that you got. So, okay. Now, of course, I'm pretty sure that there's probably some other stuff that just kind of went over my head, but this has been very interesting to type of dissect and kind of get into, the mind of Watsky. But you guys let me know what y'all thought about this down in the comments. That's the end of this video. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like and subscribe. Dave's out.